They abandoned me as a teen. Now they want my money. Explosive truth. I never thought my life would turn into this twisted drama. It started with a lie. A single, insidious lie that spiraled out of control, tearing my world apart. Kicked out as a teen, forced to rebuild my life from scratch. I've clawed my way to success. Now, after years of silence, my parents are back, begging for my help. But their sudden interest in my life comes with a shocking price and a bitter taste of hypocrisy. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and my story is complicated. Growing up with a twin brother was like living in his shadow. My parents genuinely seemed convinced, for some reason, that my brother was destined for greatness, an assistant for greatness that was incredibly demoralizing and bruised my self-esteem from a young age. When she visited, my grandmother always knew how to ease the ache. She'd had chocolates and occasionally slipped a few dollars to me so that I could treat myself later. As the years crawled by, the emotional abuse directed at me intensified. My parents would openly mock my grades and belittle my hobbies. It felt as though no matter how much I tried, I could never measure up. Although I was good at sports, they forbade me from participating in extracurricular activities as they wanted me to concentrate only on studies just like my brother. It was frustrating, a constant uphill battle for their affection and approval. Later in my sophomore year, having Snapchat on my phone, I downloaded this app because I needed to stay connected with my friends. However, according to my parents, this was forbidden. They then took the doors of my hinges and told me that I would have no privacy as long as I lived under their roof. Watching my parents abuse me this way, the toxic environment created by their unjust actions allowed him to exploit the situation to his advantage. He adopted a pattern of lying about me, falsely accusing me of things that I never did so that he could get away with everything. If he stole something, I would be blamed. Despite my constant denials, my parents always sided with him. However, I would struggle so much to even be heard. This jealousy reached a boiling point during our 14th birthday party and no one showed up for him on his birthday. I have no idea why his friends did that to him, but in stark contrast, my party wasn't it. This infuriated my brother further, and he vowed to take revenge. What is a spoiled brat? He started physically abusing him at home since our parents loved him more. Unbeknownst to me, he took things to a disturbing level, fabricating evidence to his advantage. He started purposefully inflicting injuries like a black eye or bruised shoulder. The next day, he started displaying the self-inflicted injuries as proof of my supposed violence and make-up stories whenever our parents questioned him about the injuries. He'd blame me for things that never happened, twisting innocent activities like playing football into a monstrous version of events. It wasn't long before whispers started circulating. At first, I noticed subtle changes. Friends who once chatted with me in the hallway suddenly became distant. Invitations to group hangouts became fewer and farther between, and people were hesitant to associate with the supposedly spoiled girl accused of violence. Eventually, a friend, bless her heart, confided in me. She opened up about how my twin brother had been spreading rumors about me, accusing me of things I have never done. I was shocked to hear her words. The feeling was a mix of disbelief and betrayal, as if the ground beneath me had given way. My brother was systematically destroying my reputation, accusing me of things I would never even dream of doing. It would keep leaving me with a knot in my stomach and a heavy heart, but he chose to ignore me. I begged him to stop lying about me, but he smirked at me and told me that I deserved to ride alone. I was at a loss for words because his lies and behavior was starting to scare me. I wanted to talk to my parents, but I was afraid that they would believe my brother over me. It felt like my brother's jealousy-fueled lies were tearing down the connections I had built over the years, teaching me a harsh lesson about the fragility of trust. It was a surreal experience, as if I were living in a parallel reality and my true self was overshadowed by the malicious story spun by my own brother. My worst nightmare came true one afternoon when I was called to the principal's office. I sat there, hoping my brother would finally come clean, but instead, he doubled down. He confirmed that the rumors were true and painted me as this bully who went round beating him up when our parents weren't around. I couldn't believe it. He fabricated a sob story about how I was angry at him for getting more love from our parents. My mom began to cry hearing my brother's story. My dad tried to comfort my brother, telling him that it was brave for him to come forward, and assured him that he was going to make sure that nothing would ever happen to him after that day. I tried to defend myself, often pleading with the principal that it was all made up. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of accusations. My parents looked at me with such disappointment, convinced that I was this violent person taking out my frustrations on him every day, giving me accusing glares that pierced my soul. I pleaded with him not to do this, tears streaming down my face, begging for someone, anyone, to believe me. It hit me hard that they were never going to believe me, and I started crying even more. My parents, angry and embarrassed by the whole situation, dragged me out of the principal's office. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to plead my case, my heart heavy with frustration and humiliation. When we got home, things took a drastic turn. My dad started packing up my stuff out of the blue. I was shocked and confused. My mom asked him what he was doing, but he just shouted that he couldn't let me live in the same house as my brother anymore. I begged him to stop, practically on my knees, but my dad continued packing my things and then threw the suitcase into our foyer. It was like a nightmare unfolding before my eyes. He told me that a bully like me didn't deserve to live in his house. Thankfully, my grandmother saw what was going on and intervened. It felt like the world had crumbled beneath me as I was kicked out of my own home. Eventually, my grandmother did show up, helping me into the passenger seat. She rang the doorbell, and when my dad opened the door, she started to yell at him for treating me this way, her voice filled with Western determination. She warned him that if he ever approached me or tried to contact me again, he would regret it. My mother, attempting to deflect blame, told her that it was my fault. However, my grandmother wasn't having any of it. She stood her ground, defending me, emphasizing that I was just a child who didn't deserve to be treated in such a heartless manner. That was the first time in my life I felt how powerful my grandmother was. She didn't cower down to my parents and blindly believe what they believed. Eventually, we drove away, leaving behind my home. I can't even begin to put into words how indescribable the pain I felt during that time. I remember just crying on the bed and not eating anything despite how much my grandmother urged me to. She assured me that she believed my side of the story, and I was happy that I at least had one person who had my back. When the 10-day suspension lifted, the faces of my classmates spoke volumes. Whispers and sidelong glances followed me everywhere. The weight of the false accusations continued to linger in the air. Meanwhile, my brother blatantly ignored me and acted like I didn't exist. No matter how much I tried to tell my side of the story to anyone, no one seemed to want to listen. No matter where I went, the cafeteria, the quarters, I became a loner. I would keep my head down, attend all my classes, and would straight go back home. I have no friends, and it felt like everyone pretty much didn't want me there. Throughout all this, my grandmother would constantly remind me that this was not my fault and that life would eventually be okay. I graduated high school with good grades and was looking forward to college, but hopefully I would have a better life. It was only when I went away to college for the first time that I felt free. No one was watching over my shoulders, judging my every move. Despite the emotional and physical scars, I was determined to make something of myself. During this time, I'd always been someone who wanted to be a writer, but I wasn't sure if it would be sustainable for a long time hence, since I decided to ditch my dream and study business instead. While pursuing my major, I started working as a freelance content writer, securing jobs from prominent clients. This is how I slowly started building a portfolio of my work. Throughout my college years, I maintained this side hustle and never asked for a penny from my parents. When I graduated from college, I realized that I could pursue content writing as a full-time job. I was doing quite well because of the multiple clients and the long-term professional relationships I had with them, which allowed them to rope me in multiple Apple projects of all kinds. Having a legitimate freelancing career not only made me financially independent, but also allowed me to travel the world as a digital nomad. I saved up as much as I could and took a chance on myself. Over the years, my career flourished. She was very sad when I moved out, but she understood that I needed to be independent on my own. Despite my hectic schedule, I would make it a point to be there for her whenever I could. I would visit her on the weekend off and sharing meals together. You're simply sitting on the porch. On weekend, we would go for a leisurely walk. Recently, I got done with one of the most important projects of my career. I've been creating various blogs and product descriptions for them. After the project was done, Twitch, they were more than happy to do a testimonial. I then took screenshots and post them on social media. Clients started to congratulate me on my professional success and even reposted my story to help promote my services. This is how I started getting messages from strangers who also needed help with their websites and blogs. Eventually, a university professor contacted me. He had reached out to me after seeing that I was doing so well and wanted me to come to college to talk about my career trajectory. I was quite nervous as I don't do well when it comes to public speaking. When I found myself standing before eager faces, sharing my experiences and insights, I felt like my life had come full circle. It was a truly fulfilling experience to empower others and contribute to the growth of the writers community. Some of my clips started going viral on Facebook groups. It felt good to be finally recognized for my hard work. Last week, I was invited to speak at a local news channel. It was a show about the benefits of content writing. I was a bit nervous, but also excited for the opportunity. During the show, I discussed the importance of client reviews. The response was both humbling and exhilarating. I shared some of these clips on my Instagram also as I was proud of what I had accomplished. This is how my relatives and cousins started finding out how well I was doing in my career. You see, because my parents never talked about me to anyone, they have no idea that I was working with popular brands and getting invited to TV shows. This is how it quickly spread within my family. Just a few days later, I was working on another article, deeply engrossed in my work. When I was done with my work, I checked my phone and to my surprise, I saw a missed call from my mom. I couldn't fathom why she was calling me. I hesitatingly called her back and she picked up immediately. I asked her if everything was okay, and my mom started to congratulate me on my success. My dad jumped into the conversation also. He started to inquire about my life and well-being. It didn't strike me as unusual until they began to ask how much I was earning these days. I told him that I was doing well financially. My browser, I could sense what was coming next. We are retired now, and we have been wanting to renovate the house for a while now. It's not in the best shape, but we have no savings left, my mom said. I mumbled an okay. After watching your TV interview today, Dad said that you shouldn't hesitate to share some of your earnings with us. We can really use your help. Are you joking with me? Why are you asking me for money when you haven't even talked to me for years? I don't know what made you decide to reach out to me, and while I appreciate the congratulations, I'm not going to help you out in any way. My mom started saying how I was being a beat and that I needed to support them as a family. My dad also added that as my parents, and this was the least that we could do. I was so pissed at this that I wanted to give them a piece of my mind for mistreating me all those years ago. My dad curiously asked me what it was I wanted to say. Without hesitation, I laid out my demand. If they wanted my help, I wanted them to humiliate my brother the same way they had humiliated me in front of everyone by believing his lies and manipulations. I wanted them to take accountability for their actions and acknowledge the pain they had inflicted on me. My dad began to question the necessity of such an admission. My mom told me how this was all quite unnecessary and that we could have a private discussion without involving others. But I held my ground. This condition was non-negotiable. My mom continued to urge me to do the right thing and help them, emphasizing the years they had spent raising me. I reminded them of the past and the emotional scars they left behind, reminding them that their raising involved kicking me out with nothing. They started to get more and more agitated, but I told him firmly that if they wanted to establish contact with me and seek my financial assistance, they needed to face consequences for their actions. Since this conversation, I am starting to regret even calling them back that day. I would like to know if I would really be in a hole if I didn't help my parents at all. Update 1. I am glad that everyone agrees that I should not engage with my parents or even consider helping them out after what they put me through. The reason I even gave them such a condition was because I knew it was pretty much impossible for them to do. I know they love my brother too much, and despite the fact I was the one wronged, they would never go against him. Today my brother sent me a nasty text message after my parents again tried to contact me, stating, "Oh hey, it's been a long time since I saw you and I can tell you that every day without you in my life has been great. I heard that mom and dad reached out to you and you gave them a crazy ultimatum. They're never going to go through with it. You know that, right? I admit that I did lie about you 15 years ago, but it's been a long time since then. So stop being so selfish and try to move on from the past. You are unmarried and childless anyway, so why do you not want to help them out by paying for their repairs and renovations around the house? Do the right thing and be a better daughter." His words spoke volumes about his lack of empathy. The attempt to guilt-trip me by emphasizing my unmarried and childless status added another layer of insensitivity. His insinuation that I should prioritize their needs over my own well-being was not only offensive, but deeply hurtful. Fueled by frustration, I decided it was time to take matters into my own hands and reveal the truth that had been hidden for too long. I sat down to write an email to my parents and close our ear. In the email, I detailed the years of emotional abuse, of favoritism towards my brother, and the devastating impact it had on my self-esteem and mental health. The email also delved into the malicious and completely untrue rumors my brother had spread about me in school, highlighting the social consequences and affecting my reputation. I asked everyone to read a message my brother had sent me, and I attached a screenshot where he admitted to lying about me. It was a clear confession that I hoped would expose the lies that had persisted for too long. I sent the email just an hour ago, and I know that all hell will break loose once my parents and my brother read it. I will update you next regarding how my family reacts to my email. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and a lot of things have happened this month. As you can imagine, my family did erupt after receiving the email. My parents have received criticism from Ariel, who were previously unaware of the extent of the favoritism and emotional abuse. A lot of the family members reached out to me telling me that they had no idea about all this and apologized to me for not being there. My brother and my parents sent me a barrage of text messages that were starting to get more abusive and violent, so I decided to reach out to a lawyer. I guess this must have scared them straight because they stopped contacting me. My grandmother thinks I have done the right thing by letting everyone know what happened and supports me 100%. She is the only person who matters to me, so I'm glad she is my back. Update 3. It's been 2 months since my last update. I am happy to report that everything in my life is going well for now. Professionally, the invitations to speak at seminars and podcasts continue to roll in, solidifying my position as a respected figure in my line of work. I am as close to my grandmother as ever, and I took a 1-week break from my work so I can spend some quality time with her. We are always spending time planting various flowers and herbs in her garden. The moments I spend with her are my favorite and cherished memories. My family has not contacted me after the letter they received from my lawyer, so I'm happy that they are staying away from me. Personally, I've started going to therapy, so hopefully I can work on healing myself. I think this will be the last update for now. So, Reddit, after hearing all of this, did I handle this situation correctly? Was I right to demand such a difficult thing from my parents, knowing they'd likely never agree? Was cutting them off completely the right choice? I'm struggling to shake off the guilt, but I also refuse to be a doormat after years of being treated unfairly. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the situation, whether you think I was justified in my actions or if I should have taken a different approach. Share your honest advice and perspective.